Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are doing good. My name is Josh Herman. I'm gonna mute all this other stuff to make sure you guys sound good, or I sound good. And if there's any issues with the sound or the audio or anything like that, or video, just let me know. If you guys have never been to a Gnomon art jam before, welcome. And we had a lot of cool stuff happening over the weekend with Lightbox. So hopefully, you guys were able to check that out. Bunch of art jams, and we also hosted the concept art awards here on our channel. That's also on our YouTube channel, so go ahead and check those out if you're interested. First off, before I get talking too much further, if you guys in the chat don't mind helping me out, does everything sound good and everything look good for you? I'm hoping it does. Yes, great. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. All right, so today we're going to be sculpting characters in ZBrush, and as we've done in some of the previous streams, we're going to sculpt something from a prompt. And so some of the previous prompts we had, I'm going to start pulling them up now, was he's kind of sculpted this sort of vampire, sort of a lich character, so we'll be bringing that character back today to talk about. But I actually want to spend a little bit more time sculpting something brand new today. So as soon as I get these ready, we'll talk about that. All right, so I'm going to add these to the stream. So you guys should also be hearing some music at this point, some royalty-free. Hopefully it won't mute the future stuff. So I have some streams up for here, so for the future. What I'm saying, but here's some of the previous things we worked on. We worked on this sort of a warlord prompt is what we worked on, and then we worked on this character, which was sort of a zombie vampire lich, and we ended up kind of resculpting some of these pieces in the last stream here. So you'll see some of these elements as they pop in. Seems like the head is in a different spot. There we go. So we kind of sculpted this character last stream for quite a while. Start finalizing that and playing around with some of the cloth here as well. So I got to this point. Now these were all sculpted using a prompt, like I said. And so what I wanted to do today is find a fun way for us to generate a new prompt. And what I'm a big fan of, in case you guys can't tell, is role-playing games. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to roll a new character, a D&D character, basically. We're going to do it totally randomized, and whatever comes up is what we're basically going to try to sculpt today. So I'm going to minimize this. Actually, before I do that, I'll import our base mesh that we'll use. This is the mesh that I've been using for the previous two sculpts is this. So this is what we'll end up sculpting with today. Should be cool. Got this weird overlay going on. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. That little thing at the top shouldn't be there. That's all right. We'll figure it out later. We'll use this one for now. Oh, it's because of the background. Haha, there it is. That's the one we wanted. All right, so we're going to roll a totally random character using D&D Beyond. If you guys have never seen this before, this is kind of what it looks like. And I have a character up here to kind of show you guys what the final result looks like. And there's always fun things in here. You can roll dice, and we're going to use this random dice rolling here to help us generate whatever our future things are. So this technique, I follow a guy named Matt Colville, if you guys are roleplay fans. And we're going to build a character from here and just start from the very beginning to get our prompt. We'll call this like blank character. We're going to start with our abilities. This is the first thing we're going to start with. I'm going to go to manual. And typically, if you ever played D&D, you roll 4d6. So I can go in here and I can hit roll. And you'll see we got a 16, which is pretty good. And you're going to subtract the lowest number, and that's what we're going to start with. Now, normally you would take these and you kind of put them in whatever you want. But Matt Colville has this fun idea, which is basically you're going to start left to right. and you're going to enter whatever you get, and whatever you get is what you get for that stat, and that'll give us like a nice starting point for this. So let's start here, and this will be our first roll. So we got a 17, which is super good, -1, so we got a 16 strength. Next, let's try again. Is the sound too loud, by the way? Oh, really good, a 15. We got a 12. I'm rolling crazy high. Ooh. 7. That's where it came in. All right, so these are what our stats are going to start out as, and we're going to even go a little further. I'm going to take this to the player's handbook, which is this. I'm going to roll a d12 here. We're going to let it choose our race. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think. Wait. Oh, there's 10 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got to roll a 10. 6. Same one. So we're going with this. Class. There should be 12 of these. Druid. I'm going to roll twice on this because I was like choosing opposites. 9 would be rogue, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm not going to go through all this fun stuff. Well, I will real quick, because why not, right? Stealing, stealth, deception, investigation. Definitely stealing and stealth for a rogue. We're going to go even into our description. We can choose these random backgrounds, which is kind of a fun thing. And so I'm going to roll a D100 here. There's 54, even though a new book just came out yesterday. So I rolled 54, which means we'll probably be at the very bottom of this, which should be this one. But I think there was 54 when I counted before. So which means this would be like what our background is. And then we can even come in here with some characteristics. It's going to have us suggestions. So we'll roll 2d8s to pick this. So 7 and 2. So this character says, like, my favor once lost is lost for forever. And the common folk love me for their kindness and generosity. And what I like doing with this as far as character creation is concerned is it gives you these really nice prompts to just kind of go through something and say, like, you know, this is who you are. He's a noble, so we're going to pick this, and he loves some wine for sure. All right, and that should give us everything we need, except when we go back to here, we needed to randomize our name, so I'm going to choose, we're going to click this many times, 3. 1, 2, 3. Maguzur is the character's name we're going to make today, and we'll click on here. Go in here, we're going to change this backdrop maybe to something that feels more rogue-like. And then we'll choose color. So this is our character we're making, and what we can even do later is we'll be able to update this to like update this little picture if we want to create that, which I think will be pretty fun. So the character today we're making is a half-orc rogue who is a former, who's now a criminal, but was a noble, and is very loyal and very independent. So we're going to start with that. All right, and so now we're going to jump into ZBrush, and we're just going to go ahead and start sculpting from our base, and I think this will give us kind of like a nice starting point for this. So mag user, I'm going to put this over on my other screen here. Noble criminal. Yep. Sounds like this kind of immediately kind of makes me feel like this is where you can get a really good. That's why I actually have been doing this a little bit recently. You can get a really good prompt for this because it's like you can start fleshing out the character very quickly. Like you can come in and say like, oh, the whatever. Who is this character, using the background like what we have here? Like, okay, we can say that the common folk love this person. They're very independent. Their loyalty is unwavering. They're maybe a little quick to anger. Former noble, but they're also a rogue, so they're going to be stealing. You can kind of get a really good starting point. They're not very good at talking to people. They're not very charismatic, but they're kind of fighting a trope here of being very strong but being a rogue, which I kind of like. So yeah, you can get like a really cool early prompt for this, and it just makes it easy to start. All right, so we're going to just start sketching now that we have an idea of who this character is. So let's just start moving some stuff around. Question for the chat, if you guys don't mind helping me out: is the music too loud, or can you hear the music at all? Those are good. Thank you very much. If you guys have any questions in the chat about anything I'm doing or my process or tools or just generally anything, please, as always, feel free to say something. I'm going to polygroup this first, actually. If you guys have never seen this before, this is kind of my standard thing that I do every time. So I'm going to group those. I'm going to group this. We're going to try to get a sketch of this character done today. So a half orc, noble rogue. Do I ever use the sculptor's model? Yes, I do use the sculptor's model. It is great for certain things. We'll probably even use it a little bit today. The only thing that we might not use it for is that using a base mesh like this can sometimes make it a little hard because you want to keep those lower subdivision levels. So we might use it today, but we might not. All right, what was I doing? Okay, that's right. I saved this. As always, I'm just going to kind of quickly save a new save. What was this guy's name? Mag user. Right. Right. So I'm going to try to get a little bit of a character into this pose as well while we're here. Unless I completely break the arms off. For some reason, I want to feel like this, like chin up, that classic noble, like better than thou quality. So I want to start maybe getting a little bit of that in here now. I'll take these legs, I think, and like and then maybe even stretch them out a little bit. The use of grouping is so that you can very easily and ideally quickly grab selections. So for example, if I want to just grab these arms and pose them or move them, I can do this and I can mask them very quickly. Same thing with the head, for example. And we'll end up doing this at some point, like maybe we're just going to work on the bust for a little bit while it's just easier to select it like this so that when you're manipulating it, you're not having to do every single thing over and over and over and over. I kind of want, he did a, for a level 1 character, this character would have 18 strength. So we're going to make this dude kind of bulky. A little top heavy. We're just adjusting proportions here. No class, you're not late. Welcome to the stream. Today we are just making some characters based off of a prompt that we rolled up from a D&D character to get us started on an idea. All right, so now we've got some base proportions, and what I'm going to do is probably adjust a little bit more. The arms to me are feeling a little strange, so I'm going to get there in a minute. Maybe some of the chest, just bulk sizes at this point. I can now hit Control D a couple times. What you'll get is this very smooth version. I don't really like that, so I usually turn off the smoothing for my first subdivision, and then I'll turn it back on. At this point, we're not really thinking about costume. We're just thinking about overall proportion. Now, if we do start sketching, as we will here, maybe we'll find something in this that feels like, oh, this could be an interesting costume element. But right now, that's not really what we're looking for. We're just kind of looking for base proportions. So I'm going to start just kind of pushing in some areas where the eyes could be. You guys are all doing well out there. Over here in California, the entire state is on fire, so I hope you guys are doing good. Staying safe. Might just remove this ring from this group. That way I can adjust it a little easier. Zill's the same, huh? So I'm trying to figure out what this pose is going to be for this character. Kind of like the idea of like maybe there's this like, you can see maybe like behind the back kind of like head up kind of thing, you know, kind of maybe this is an interesting thing we could try. This is going to be very strange, I think, but we might be worth trying. Maybe not. I think I destroyed those hands, so we'll do that later. But something I'm just kind of playing with ideas in my head as I'm starting to flesh this out. So let's get. I kind of like the idea of a vest. This character wearing a vest of some kind. Now we'll just get into some anatomy stuff. I always find that if I'm kind of stuck or if as I'm blocking something out, just blocking out base humanoid proportions is a really good starting point for me because it can just get you there quicker. Or as you're going, as you're going, you'll find something that's working or not working. Also, you can sometimes just like work on a character like this for a little bit to explore and say like, okay, am I finding anything that's working? So this character needs to be a little bulkier, I think. I like using these masks to sculpt in certain levels of like overlap on muscles. Big fan of that. You can like grab and even tuck something in to almost force the look of the overlap or to actually make it overlap. And the clay buildup brush is also really good for that as well. So we're just going to go ahead and block out some of this, get some of this in here. Something's different with UI. It is. I did a little bit of customization. Just a little bit, only one thing actually. No, it's the same thing. It's like when somebody gets a haircut, you're like, something's different about you. I changed all the buttons to be blue. That's really all it is. All right, let's just focus on the face for a little bit. We kind of got some rough proportions here. I think we can still keep going with that. Actually, no, let's keep going with that. I'm not happy with this right now. Face him. You see me debating back and forth about what I want to do. I kind of want to just get a little further out of this. Ended up watching Prometheus last night and then Alien Covenant back to back. I don't know when the last time anybody watched those movies was. But it was actually, I remember watching them before, obviously, but it was interesting watching them back to back because the stories are so so connected. And at first I remember really disliking Prometheus when it first came out. But now it's kind of watching them back to back. I was like, okay, it feels like it should have just been one movie to me. Underbite look we're going for. This head is still, like you can see, I haven't really done a lot on the head. I think that's part of what's happening is kind of falling into this trap of just focusing on an area and not really adjusting the overall shapes. I think one thing you kind of have to keep in mind. I agree that the scientists are making a lot of bad decisions, but I think that what helps me is just trying to keep in context that it's a horror movie, or it should be a horror or thriller movie, and it feels like every like a trope of a horror movie is that you just have to make bad decisions. No, like only one character in horror movies tends to make good decisions, and that's usually like the one protagonist. So watching it as like this is a horror movie. Just imagining it as a slasher film or something where it's like, all right, I'm going in. Is anybody in here? No. All right, cool. I'm gonna go take a shower. Like just imagining it kind of like that actually helped me quite a bit. Not to be like super crazy critical of it. I got a question from Twitch saying, how often do we use photo projection in the gaming industry? Photo projection just in general is pretty common. Photo projection and especially photogrammetry is also very common right now as well. So using photos, using real life references is extremely common in CG in general, because it's a good way to make it so that you're making something accurate, making something that looks real. This is not my best anatomy sculpt, but we'll get there. Yeah, I actually like the writing in Alien Covenant quite a bit more. I got a question from YouTube. As someone who is self-taught, what would you recommend? And should an artist rely on self-learning, or should they join a school or be on campus to get an idea in the field? It's kind of hard to get a general idea. Let's see. That's a tough question. I think learning in general is always going to be about what works best for you, right? Like if you're super driven and you can create a curriculum for yourself and find the resources, there's millions of resources out there, from channels like this that are going to be more casual to more structured things on YouTube and workshops and stuff like that. I mean, I think there's so much out there at this point that can I just mess around with this while I'm talking? There's so much out there that you can find if you need it, that if you have the drive to do that, then I think that's a totally viable method. For myself, that's not who I am, right? Like, so for me, it was like I needed to go to school because I didn't have the drive to create a curriculum or a structure for myself that would be viable for me to learn. And so I ended up needing to go to school. I actually went to school twice. So I think the question that you're kind of asking is like, school versus self-learning, and what's the best way to do it. And I know people who are self-taught. I know people that are not, right, that have kind of done it, that have gone to school, and they're both very viable options. It's just going to really depend on which one is the best for you. So if you feel like you need somebody to kind of kick you in the butt and keep you accountable, then go to school. For obviously we're on the Gnomon channel to sort of speak a little bit about that. I'm a Gnomon alumni. I went to two schools, one school before Gnomon and one after, or one before Gnomon and then Gnomon, and they were completely different. The first school I didn't really have the drive, right, to really do what I needed, and then the second time I was much more. When I went to Gnomon, it was a completely different change of pace, but it was also, much more intense, and I was learning a lot more. And I think the fact that I was learning a lot more made it so I felt a little bit more comfortable putting in the time, like knowing I was getting something out of it, if that makes sense. How old was I when I went to Gnomon? I graduated in 2009. At the very end, I'm 35, so that means I would have been 23 when I started. I don't love this character right now. I'm not falling in love with it. I think I need to do something to kind of get inspired by it. I'm just not finding it right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the pose. So we're going to mask this off. I want him to kind of do this, like maybe this crossed arms thing, right? So we might even cross the arms, just even though it's going to be a thing that will be harder to sculpt. I think it might be like kind of I find like if the character has a backstory and I'm starting to feel the character, it'll come across much faster. So that's what I'm going to do. Or was I good at what I did before I went to Gnomon? Or was I a beginner? I was absolutely a beginner, 100% a beginner. Well, not 100%. I had gone to a 3D school to, kind of learn 3D, and I'll just pull this up now because why not? This is like the quality of 3D that I had. This is my actual portfolio that I used to apply to Gnomon. If you guys have seen the stream before, you may see some of this, but this is my actual portfolio I use. So you'll see some 3D models. So I was capable of modeling something if I knew what it was. This is a pretty rough and not great sculpt. A car model, for example, some pencil drawings here, more anatomy and hand studies, life drawing studies, more anatomy studies, life drawing studies, some graphic design work, some pixel art, some 3D. So this is like the extent of what my characters were looking like when I was applying to Gnomon. It was kind of like this. Some sketches, gesture drawings, life studies. This is actually Illustrator work, so this is a vector file. So I definitely had some experience working in the computer, right? It wasn't something that was completely new to me. Doing some experimenting with some traditional clay sculpture or sculpture. So yeah, that was my portfolio. But yeah, now not even within my first term, I was already significantly improved from where I was when I started. We're gonna just try to get into the actual pose of this character, and like maybe that'll help fix this. Can we remesh a specific area by masking? That's a good question. I don't think you can do just a specific area of a Z remesh. I think you have to do the whole thing. I'm gonna have him kind of looking down at us. And now I'm going to take this and I'm going to auto groups it so that they're two instead of one. make him kind of stand really tall. Let's see, we've got some questions. Do I know anyone who was 35 when they started instead of 23? Do you think it'd be way too late? I know several people who were in their 30s, 40s. We had I think last year, Gnomon has had a couple graduates who were in their 50s of the 2-year program. So it's definitely not too late. I'm trying to imagine what this is going to look like. I think he's almost like leading with his hips. Chin this out. Chin this up. Taking these legs. Rotating them outwards and pushing them outwards a little bit. "19 for concept and illustration is not late." No, not at all, not at all. Very early, I'd say. All right, so we're going to try to take these. We're going to bend them. Zombie now. Ooh. Trying to do this kind of a thing. Try not to rip the mesh in half, because otherwise that can happen. So I'm going to just grab one of these one at a time at this point. Noticing that the elbows are pretty low. So that's something I might just tweak really quickly. Again, I've got to be conscious when I go across the body like that, that I don't destroy the mesh too much. Trying to also look at myself. I'm actually using the stream or the stream preview to see where I'm crossing my arms, like where I'm actually putting that stuff. And I'll probably just do one at a time. Normally, I wouldn't pose this like this early, but this is kind of something I wanted to try today. Push this around a little bit. And looking at myself, looks like this maybe will be the top arm. The other one will go underneath it. Just a rough pose. I think it will help a lot. We'll probably spend a little bit, since I was going to do considering this guy having like a vest of some type, I think it will be a little easier to sculpt this as well. All right, let's get this other arm going. get a lot of questions whenever I do poses, and that's usually about, when do you pose, why do you pose, how do you break symmetry, all that kind of fun stuff. And I think the number one thing to just remember about posing is that you'll have to read, like, let's say you do a perfect model, right? It doesn't matter what it's about. It's a perfect model, but it's organic and it's going to have to move, right? As soon as you pose it, a lot of the anatomy is going to break. The cloth is all going to break. It's not really going to make sense. And so what I'm doing is I can use the move topology. That works fine. Oh, it looks like I destroyed that hand. So we're going to have to undo a little ways. I did that. It just ripped it into a million pieces. One thing I could have done, which would probably have been smart, is to have taken a layer and put this pose on a layer. Looks like he's sort of a mummy. So what I'm going to do is now that the arms are actually crossed, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on the general vibe of it. So kind of this like back on. Push this forward, these arms forward. I'm going to resculpt basically this entire character, everything we've started today after doing this, so that's okay. Forearms or the biceps got really short. Trying to keep some of that into account as well. And I almost kind of just want to obliterate these hands. What I mean by that is like the fingers are, I need to basically turn them into fists. Unless he's going to be doing, this, right? Because they're basically hidden. Hide them like that. Shoulder width back in here. Let's get some of this back in here. This arm is being destroyed. Trying to get it like, drew my pen. Ugh. I think it's that the whole arm needs to move forward. They're still so far to the side. This, I think, is what's causing an issue. Poses are really difficult, so I always recommend looking at yourself as much as you can in the mirror and trying to figure out, or a camera, webcams work great, what exactly is the problem with some of the poses. So that's what was happening. No, this is not off of reference. Would probably have been helpful to have gathered some reference, but we were doing a sort of impromptu randomized character today. No. Apology brush. Apology brush is good, but sometimes what you'll see with it is it kind of like doesn't get you everywhere you want to go. Now that's starting to get there. So let's save it. Now that we've kind of got one that's looking okay. Now when I res this up, I'm sure it'll look terrible, but it's not too bad. This is exactly what we want. We kind of want to get to this point where it's like, I'm starting to understand a little bit more about who this character is. Now I feel like, okay, I can actually start, I'll go up a subdivision level and maybe we'll start playing at this level. And as I say that, I kind of want to adjust this weight. This, maybe mask this off. Now we start playing around with our silhouette. So this is kind of what our silhouette is right now. I'm going to create this larger shape. Like I'm feeling taller. We're going up a level. We're going to just start working our way up from here. We will run into problems when we sculpt those hands, so I'll have to move them out of the way to just sculpt like what the body itself looks like. And we'll probably continue to adjust things as we go. I do like blocking in anatomy. If you guys have watched any of the previous streams before, you know that's kind of one of the ways I like to work. It's not the only thing you should be doing. It's not the only thing you should be paying attention to when you're modeling in characters or blocking in characters, because it is can be deceiving, especially if you're doing a character who's in a costume. Because, you know, modeling somebody who's in a costume is a very different shape and silhouette and vibe than a nude character. So coming in with this is a good start. You know, I think, like, especially if we just go back to what we had. Oh, I'm hitting. For example, this is what we started with. So when we're here and we're kind of now getting to here, this is a good starting point. maybe inflate some of this so that it feels like it's a little bit more together. Playing with some of those silhouette shapes so that it feels stronger. Even though I'm mostly going to try to focus on this section of the character, I don't want to neglect the entirety of the rest of the character. So you'll see me bouncing around, trying to hit bits of anatomy, bits of the character that are going to be everywhere, even if they're not going to be totally seen. Just something to kind of keep in mind. Some sort of a boot, so I'm going to just explore that idea here. Maybe sculpting the whole costume into the first bit as for this sketch. We know that we can always break it apart into other meshes later, but just even exploring the idea that there is something here will help get us a little bit of a vibe that will be helpful. Am I sculpting with reference or am I sculpting freehand? I am sculpting freehand right now. Let's see. When you are learning 3D or drawing or painting, is there a point where your skill exponentially increases or you get good faster or something like that? That's a good question. Often what you'll see is there's sort of, I don't remember exactly the term, but there's a term for when you start learning things and you start getting better, but your eye actually gets better faster than your ability to make something. And what often happens is, you'll see this. I think I can use posable symmetry. Let's try this real quick. Use posable symmetry. Let's see how accurate this is. Ooh, that's going to be awkward. It's going to work on the elbows, though. That hand. It's okay. Just very quickly, do at least this part of the character. Bending my arm, trying to flex it as much as my tiny muscles will allow for reference. Your brain kind of recognizes your artistic eye basically gets better faster than your skills can really keep up. And what'll happen is you'll notice that you'll be able to say like, oh, this looks good, but I don't understand why I can't make it look better or something like that. And that's pretty common. So when things get better is once you realize you're able to either self-critique or you are able to execute on the critique that you're able to recognize. And that's just kind of a pretty normal thing that happens. You've been in that phase for 20 years. What that normally means is you just gotta, keep pushing, right? Keep trying something new. Take a class. Like that's when it's always. That's for me. There was a question earlier about school. Should I go to school? Should I do self-taught? I think both are viable, but there's a certain point that I personally have noticed where if I can't push past a level, whatever term you want to use, but if you can't push past a level, getting some outside influence, whether that's a class or an outside opinion or a mentor or something like that, is going to be really, really valuable. That thing that you're talking about right now, I can see it clearly in my head. What's wrong with it? Should I look? That's something that every artist goes through. Every artist goes through that. I'm doing that right now. That was the whole beginning of this. Is we've been on the stream for almost an hour, and we don't really have any features. This character sculpted. All we're really searching for is the vibe of this character, and sometimes that's very frustrating. Be like, why isn't this feeling the way that I want it to? What is it about this that's just not working? We've gotten a little bit more in here. I'm going to append some eyeballs. See if this helps. I'm going to place them so that I know they would be looking out this way, but also knowing that I want the character to be looking down at us. What I might do, I'm going to duplicate this whole thing. I'm going to just show this part of this one, and I'm going to show that part of that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to delete, I think. Yes, I will. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to split everything that's hidden. Group split it on one of these. So that's going to be one of them, and this is going to be the other one. I'm using this sort of as a way to just isolate an area that I'm working on, but not have to hopefully worry about it too much later. So this is it. So I can continue to go up in subdivision levels. I'll be able to project that onto this later. So what I actually want to do is kind of like be able to explore some of these shapes, and there just wasn't really enough resolution in there. So I'm going to come in and start blocking out some eye shapes or some where these eyeballs are going to go. And so I like to push in really far and make it kind of almost skull shaped. First, I'm noticing this is way too flat. The actual whole face is way too flat. I need to bring out the whole center quite a bit. I want him to be like angry, kind of complacent, and like, what? We'll also just looking up some reference. Just so you know what I'm looking at, this is just half orc is what I Googled. Just trying to see, like, you know, what the traditional facial features and styles of these characters are. Oh, look, that's exactly what we're going to do. It's funny. All right. Anybody that has any questions, as always, please feel free to ask them. Happy to answer the best I can. It's a good opportunity to just try dynameshing this. Way too low, at least that resolution. Yeah. That way I'm not really fighting any of this geometry that's there. That's not really the intention. Now, full disclosure, I was just about to say we should sculpt a smile. Smiles can be really, really difficult because otherwise they can sometimes look really creepy, like real creepy. That being said, I'm going to try it. We are going to give it a shot. And to do that, we're going to have to pull some teeth in here. Adding teeth in general will be good. What is the best way to start a base mesh from scratch? Oh, it's the best way to start a base mesh or from scratch. That really depends on the project. I think that if you're working on something that's like needing to be, if you've already got like a human, right? You don't have to sculpt a human or a humanoid character from scratch every single time. It just doesn't really make sense. But if you are doing something brand new, then it never hurts to do something brand new. The problem I find with base meshes sometimes is that if you're using one, you're sometimes stuck in it, meaning you're having to pull away from it. Whereas, like, let's say you start from a sphere or from just a Dynamesh object, you'll be already having that base kind of built in, which can be really great, to use. So it just really depends on your project. Sometimes I'll do something straight up from a sphere. Sometimes I'm doing something that's from a base. Sometimes I'm using like these head planes, for example, are some of my favorite things to sculpt on because they give you a really great thing, which is like, let's just save and I'll show you how we could even maybe do that for this, because I am, to be frank, struggling a little bit with this face right now, so we can explore that too. Save as. All right, we'll pull that in for a second. We'll do it in a second, but starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel here, so maybe not jumping out quite yet. We are using ZBrush today. We also got a question from Twitch saying, in the 3D industry, what is more commonly used, Maya or Blender? We're getting a lot of Blender questions recently. I think that's because Blender's been doing a lot of really great stuff. I mean, obviously, Blender is a free program, which makes it very accessible, which is great. And they're doing a lot of really cool innovations with their sculpting, with their rendering especially. I think you're seeing it a lot in the concept art community. So that you're seeing a lot of people just really start to use it more in a way that is pretty awesome, to be honest. But in full 3D productions, I think, you're going to see Maya being used a lot more. All right, let's see how badly this looks. If we're going to even attempt to do something, knowing that those teeth are going to look ridiculous for a while. If this is what I should be trying. To sculpt this whole face this way. It would be possible to, but I think it's going to be quite a difficult one. We can just get some of these teeth. Normally have tusks. Using a base mesh like this is also great because it will give you a reference point. I know that this is where these teeth need to go, for example. And I should and will adjust those teeth in a minute, but so kind of one of the other things that I was going to say before, as I think I had already saved it, but I'll say it one more time, is there's these really great planes of the heads they have, which are right here. So I do this, it kills the project, so that's why I just saved. But that's what this is. So I'm actually just going to clone it. I'm going to load back what we just had. Okay, so that's this, and then now I can insert it. It's going to be huge, which is fine. Seems like somehow I pulled it off center. Oh, because I don't think I had symmetry on. So this is also what this can be really good for. Somehow this thing is off center though. So we're gonna have to fix that. Use the geometry deformation, mirror and weld. It looks like I just pulled the bottom so badly out of shape. Document resolution doesn't really matter while you sculpt. If you go too large, you'll have problems, just because you'll have like issues with just general resolution, right? Like it's actually how many polys are being shown like at a time. So that's I guess the number one thing I would say about document resolution. But generally, no, it doesn't really matter. I really like these planes of the faces because I find that they're very easy to start sculpting on, whereas like you saw me, struggle for a while. I'll move this head out of the way. Like sculpting on a face that doesn't look very good and has some pretty large structural issues. Whereas I can start with something like this. Somebody who's asking before, like base mesh versus starting point, right? Versus sculpting from scratch. This for me is like a nice in between. For now, I'm also going to be able to use this quite a bit to kind of decide what I want, how I want this to work. Also, for some reason, the more angular quality of this one, it just feels better to me. This is what I try to strive for the beginning of my sculpts to kind of look like anyways. A little bit more of this neck in there. You can always take meshes, you can always merge them together. There's nothing wrong with sculpting, especially when you're starting, both as a beginner and as somebody who's starting a new project. There's nothing wrong with using lots of meshes and really just trying to explore and get what you need. Thank you, Miranda, for posting that. Yes, that is my ArtStation page. I will pull it up over here. So a bunch of the stuff I've worked on a bunch of the Avengers movies, Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man, all kinds of different things. Star Citizen, Uncharted, Real Steel, Total Recall, all kinds of different things. So yeah, take a look at that. All right, this is already feeling. I just love this planes of the head. I love sculpting from planes of the heads just because I think they're so much easier to work with. And then we'll do this once we're done with it. We'll rotate back. Ooh, that actually already feels nice. Just keep doing that. And I also like sculpting the eyes straight into this. Especially when you don't, like we did today, we just kind of rolled a random character and started. When you're not starting with reference, starting with something that has a really solid foundation to it is probably going to help. Probably be a smart move. It is, yes, the Asaro head. Hi, Lucy. Hope you're doing really well out there. The Asaro head is very similar to this. It's the planes of the head. It's kind of the foundational, starting point for a lot of sculpture. All right, so I'm going to try to. For some reason, I'm feeling like this little curl up at the end. Again, this is a noble, so it's the character that we actually rolled for this. In case anybody wasn't here at the very beginning, we rolled a random character on D&D Beyond, or just using D&D. This is a noble half-orc rogue. So this is our actual character that we rolled up here. Noble half-orc rogue. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome to the stream. This is a random D&D character that we started today, a noble half-orc rogue that we're starting in ZBrush from the very beginning. And we're going to sculpt, maybe we'll see if we can get there. We're about an hour and a half in, so we might have a little bit more time to see if we can get an early sketch render out of this today. So we're just exploring a new character concept. Getting there, to be honest. I think this is starting to come together.
This is my first time. I'm sorry.
All right. I think that's at least the head of that is kind of coming together to a point where we can start moving along. Break up some of this big faceting that we have here. This is one of the things that just kind of calls out that it's not super all, well resolved.
I thought you said I was beautiful.
Apparently we hit a different mix all of a sudden. Undo back to where we were. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to regroup some of these. So this was this face that we had sculpted before. We had spent a little bit more time and kind of sculpted one here, which was frankly pretty terrible. So we're going to delete that. And then we sculpted a new one, which is kind of here. And we're going to hide this. This is kind of where we're at right now. We're going to sculpt a little bit here in asymmetry. You can use transform, use posable symmetry. Seems like something was hidden there, so I can't actually do that right now. I can delete this top piece though. I don't actually need it, so I can go to split hidden. That will take that top piece and it will just delete it. And we'll see if the use posable symmetry works now, which it does. Even sculpt parts of the arms or different things like that and see if they'll work a little better. Don't have to though. Sculpting in asymmetry is a really good practice for sure. It's a good thing to try if you've never done it before, just because, you know, why not? To prove that you can do it and brush up on your anatomy and just general sculptural skills. Still come in here and isolate each area, which is what I'm doing right now. Fix any strange anatomy issues, make sure that things are looking okay. We do have a weird thing where the center line of these aren't really exactly the same. So you can see the center line of that. I don't know if I pulled it or if it's just off. So we'll have to figure that out at some point. I think it would be more like this. I think if I go like mirror and weld, you'll see that it's moved it. That's not really what I want. So we'll deal with that later. All right. This for me is a good starting point for us. I don't think we need to focus on those legs, even though I think the overall pose is working. I think it's getting there, right? But what I'm going to do for now with us is, I mean, that neck is, look at the size of that neck. Pose is working, but it's not totally there yet. Always coming back in and not being afraid to reevaluate what's happening. I'm going to save one last time. Not last, but I'm going to split those legs off so that we don't have to focus on them. This. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go subtool, bottom one, split hidden, and then I'm just going to go up a couple subdivision levels and show. This means we have this piece here. I don't really need this right now to focus on because we're going to focus on just the upper part of the body and the head, and it crashed. So that's a good thing we just saved. This is why we save. You can always load up what you had before. These are all my quick saves. I'm just going to quickly reset my document, grab the material I was using, change this background, and then just reload it. Seems like whenever I do that, there's an error, so I'm not going to split that off in that way. So let's try this a different way. We'll just end up hiding this a bunch, I guess. All right. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just res this up one more time. Add the lower body. And trying to figure out what the best way to do this would be. I think I want to make a little bit of a costume for him. I talked about doing a vest. So I like the natural wrinkles that this is creating in the body. There's obviously a little bit of issues here that are happening anatomically, so we don't need to resolve those right now. It is something I'll want to do eventually. I kind of like some of the stylization that is happening, but you know, we eventually would want to fix some of these things. Maybe either accentuate things or make them a little stronger, or just kind of adjust as needed. I want to maybe pull these collarbones up because I feel like they're just melting into his body. So I'm going to pull the base of the collarbone up where I need it and kind of use this as like a device to move some of this stuff around. As you can see, these hands have not really been sculpted at all. I'm probably not going to in this stream. Right. Kind of like this chiseled, very chiseled jaw we have going on. Something is up with the symmetry. There we go. That feels a little better, but you can tell it's not perfect. Whole thing is off. So I'm going to do is I'm just going to move the whole thing over. I'm going to be using this mirror and weld function. There's no subtools on this. I'm going to save this as a new version because we're doing some new things, and you saw there were some crashes before, but I'm going to go to geometry, modify mirror and weld, and it's going to snap one side to the other. Looks like I moved it pretty close to the middle, so there's not a lot that's happening there. Now that I know that I've mirrored and welded it, the symmetry should be much closer. I'm not looking for 100% right here. That's not crazy important to me, but it is just something I'm kind of paying attention to. Somebody else had asked me before about the Sculptors Pro mode, which is something that I actually like quite a bit. This is a pretty good opportunity if we wanted to explore that, to start adding some more character into this. So what you can do, probably going to subdivide one more time, maybe not, and just take the Sculptors Pro mode here and you turn it on, and I'll just start carving in. Right now you'll see that this is what the level of the geometry is. A lot of this stuff is over here that I don't really need. It might be worth, if you have issues with like the size of your not being able to sculpt at a really high resolution or anything like that, it could definitely be worth deleting these faces. For me, I'm going to be okay. But you can turn this on and just start sculpting. And what you'll notice is that it just adds geometry wherever we're sculpting. So I want to try to define, for example, this eye shape. It is based on the size of your cursor, so a larger cursor have a different size. Smaller gets smaller, as you kind of see there, but that means you're allowed to sculpt whatever geometry resolution that you need. Pretty amazing. Even though this is pretty low res, I can come in with this kind of chisel-y damn standard brush. And I'll be able to define these planes of the eye pretty well. I'm going to turn it off if I need to. Another thing I've used this for is just turn this on and use smooth. Maybe a little too big there, but just a general, like kind of subtle smoothing can also give you like a very nice, you can even turn down the intensity, but it'll still add that geometry. So if I almost want to use it as just like a localized, like I'm not even smoothing at all right now, but it is adding geometry. It's pretty cool. So if you just want to use it almost just like a localized subdivision, localized dynamesh, you can use it for that as well. Otherwise, you can do it this way as well. Can you snap to grid for exact symmetry to match other subtools? Like in Maya, there's not really a grid. There is ways to unify the scene and do some stuff like that, but it's not really, I think, what you're expecting it to do. So to answer your question, Ram from Twitch, not exactly, no. I don't want to like, I think I still have those teeth in there, but I kind of almost want to do like this. So maybe that's what I'll do is I'll use this as like, I'm not going to adjust, I'm just going to keep this undo. I'm going to grab those teeth, bring them forward quite a bit, position them. One of these teeth here, not these need to be polygrouped. Right now they're all the same group. So I just need to hit auto groups, select the top ones, run my way all the way across, group those. hide these, group these, and then I can just show these. And this maybe. Just this, so that it should be kind of like here. Tooth here. So I'm going to use the move topology brush, small setting. That bad boy out. And also just mask it. It's another easy way. That teeth probably need to be adjusted here. Show those teeth again. This will give us a nice little starting point for us. We want to use those teeth. These types of characters can be difficult because you want to like show teeth, but you need to stick them through the lips in some way, right? So it can be a little challenging, but I think we're getting there. What I had done before was use the Sculptors Pro tools to get the shapes of these eyes. And you can do this, I think I've done this in a previous stream, but even like it's something that a traditional sculptors do. We'll mask, for example, this. Something like this. Catching light very strangely. Trying it a different way here. Don't really have to do this, but sometimes it feels nice. Just using the masks there to manipulate stuff, move things around, make it feel like it's just kind of working a little bit better together. Already got some detail carved in here, so I can use this. Continue to use this. Or we can turn back on Sculptris Pro. I want to carve in some details, give some age, give some more definition, whatever it is exactly that we're looking for. Already a good amount of detail in here, though. Don't really have to. Maybe in like this nostril area. I'm actually using the smooth, like I had shown before, with Sculptris Pro to add a little bit of a level of subdivision that wasn't really there before. So you can see what I'm doing, and since I'm not actually smoothing the surface, it's just adding geometry there. And so now at this point I can turn Sculptris Pro off if I'd like, just sculpt with where that added area is. I like doing this because it makes it feel to me like it's just a little bit more, I kind of like the faceted look, right, that we have. I like how it kind of creates this level of like your brain filling in the details. It's like corner of the mouth here, maybe. Oh, it just closed on me. Let's see if it has it. I think we lost a lot of work there. unfortunately. I was liking where that was going. Bummer. Okay, well, we just got to do it again. All right, let's do it. Teeth there. Nope. Nope. All right. It saved it before that, but looks like we'd only been working on that for about 15 minutes, so it's not too bad. If anybody has any questions while re-sculpting what I just lost, let me know, and I'm happy to answer questions. Go back in with this Sculptris Pro tool. We're going to add a little bit of geometry here, like I just did. We're going to do the same thing here in a minute. We're going to get the eyes back. We're going to get all this stuff we just sculpted back. We're going to, of course, make a new save. Turn this on. Sculpt these eyes in. This is a royalty-free lo-fi playlist on Spotify. So, I don't know exactly what that means as far as how to get it to you. Just that's the one that I'm searching for. We'll be streaming for 1 more hour. We stream every Wednesday from 10 to 1 Pacific time. Right, let's get back into these details we were using. I like using the teeth in there as like a really good, almost like kind of like a barometer to know like if what I'm sculpting is actually going to work. Like I have these teeth in here and it's like, okay, if I want to move the teeth back or whatever. But then when I go actually look at the teeth, I'm like, oh, there's no way you'd ever be able to fit like a lip in there, right? So I actually need to adjust the outside before I can adjust the inside sometimes, which is, I think, an interesting part of the process when you start using meshes and stuff that are going to be combined, because it makes it so you're actually having to think a little bit more about what you're doing and what the actual thing is, rather than just looking about like what it looks like. And I think that's a different part of the process. How long do you need until the final version? That really depends. I think that question, that always to me depends on what the goal is, right? If the goal is to do a final game res model, you're going to need significantly more time than the 3 hours we have here today. There's a mask. I was like, why is it not working? If it's just to get a sketch, 30 minutes to an hour to 2 hours, 3 hours. How refined do you want your sketch to be? It's kind of what it depends. So for me, I can usually get a pretty solid idea of what a character is going to be in under 2 to 3 hours. I think we've had a couple hitches and crashes in the stream that I don't normally have happen. But we're getting to a point now where I'm feeling like, okay, I've kind of got a good sense of who this character is. What's the best way for hair creation? Using IMM curve brushes or fiber mesh. Really depends. If you do something more sculptural, I think the IMM brushes are good for that, because they kind of give you, like a very clear sculptural quality, right? Like it's actually, at least it's usually geometry, right, that you can use. Like if you want to 3D print something, I would consider using that. If you're wanting to do something that's a little more realistic, I guess, you're going to maybe try to do it as a concept piece, or you're going to try to do something that's a little different. I might use fiber mesh. Depends on what your goal is. This is ZBrush. This is a digital sculpting program. We were going to do the mouth. That's where we had crashed last time. So create the corner of the mouth, and then I like to kind of go around it, and then almost like in the shape of a donut. And that'll also give us some good reasoning to add some shape and some form to some of this. At this point, I'm what they call paranoid about everything crashing. So I'll be saving every several seconds. Like, do I like this? Yes, save. I am sculpting in perfect symmetry. That's not something I would do every time. Well, I'm not actually, because of all this, which apparently I lost all that work I did in the arms too, which is a major bummer. So we're going to quickly block some of that out. Look at that hand. That is a mutation if I've ever seen one. Today we're not going to do any portfolio reviews or critiques. If that's something that people are interested in, though, I would be happy to do a art jam, or maybe we could do some sort of a live stream program at some point where we do that, but not today. Some of that muscle in there. His other arm is sitting under there, just popping that bad boy out, making it look way bigger than it is. Back is pretty not great, but we're not going to focus on that today. But we did get a lot of that done, which, as I said, I am le paranoid today. Oh, no problem, Vladimir. The drapery anatomy. It's drapery is a really fun thing. It's very difficult, though. Incredibly difficult to sculpt drapery. This is why I'm paranoid. I think it's crashing on me again. You see that little blue spinning wheel? I don't know why this is happening today. Probably because I've decided to work in a different workflow. We'll see if it comes back. As we're waiting for that, let me know if anybody has any questions on anything. Very happy to answer them if I can. Otherwise, we'll get back to this as soon as the program responds. I think I had just saved it. I think. Yeah, I did. So we'll just kill it. Unlucky stream day, unlucky stream. So in case anybody was wondering what we were doing today, as this kind of loads back up, we are sculpting from a prompt that we did using a random generator. On D&D Beyond, which is a Dungeons and Dragons website where we can quickly go through and create something. So this is actually the character that we made. So you can kind of get a little glimpse into that. So this kind of loads up. And this is a half-orc noble rogue. Kind of a, as we kind of talked through it, I feel like he would have a little bit of a Robin Hood kind of a complex. And so I kind of wanted him to feel The stats that I actually rolled it for him were ridiculous, very strong for some reason. I rolled a 18 strength, well 16, so pretty crazy on that end, and I wanted to kind of try to represent that in the character. So there's still quite a bit of this that I would want to do. There's things to adjust here, but this is kind of where we're at right now. I just want to quickly sculpt in like some of this anatomy, just to have a sense of it. So to help me with proportions, especially when you start crossing arms and covering things, it gets a little more challenging to sometimes like really know what's going on. It feels like his arms might be really small, or his legs might be really small, head really big. Something is definitely going on there. Oof. A little taller though. That's feeling good. All right. I don't know, maybe this shorter version. Actually, I think I like him shorter. Maybe that's part of his character, is he's not actually as tall as the other people of his race or something. Or squat. For example, if there was another character in here, this is the base mesh that we started with today, by the way. If this is like a 6-foot character, maybe for this character he's only this tall, 5 foot, a little shorter on the half-orc spectrum. I actually use this quite a bit. You can screenshot anything to the canvas by hitting Shift S. So that you can do multiple different angles here. I use this quite a bit to say, like, this is a character, this is a 6-foot person here. 6 foot for some reason seems to be the average height for things in games and in general, like proportional things. I think it's just because it's an easy number to divide by. I'd like to use this as like a guideline and say maybe he's just shorter. He's still super strong, so make him kind of like a Mike Tyson body. I'm just using the inflate brush here to kind of accentuate some of that. So this is probably like the before of that, and this is going to be the after. We're not going to go over too much texturing today. I'm just going to give him a quick little bit of a vest. Apparently I grouped my things here, so I can actually likely make a vest pretty quickly by taking this. I'm just going to duplicate the whole object first. Actually, I lied. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just hit extract here, and I'm going to hit extract and see what it looks like. Pretty thick. Pretty thick. I am going to go down here and just kind of cut, make it like a V-neck. Extract. A little thick, so you just take down this thickness. That's the smoothing, sorry. We don't need any smoothing. And 0. And we'll say like 0.01. Like, it does have, actually the smoothing was what was that? Edge, which made it so nice and smooth. So we're going to go to 0.005. Extract. And that looks good to me, so I'm going to hit accept. That's going to make it a separate object, which is now what we're sculpting on. Go ahead and just quickly do the same thing with some pants. Away. Right, extract. Set. Pants, which we'll go ahead and just do this too. Pull them up. You have a question about my Yoshimitsu sculpture. That is Raf Grassetti's sculpture, which is back here. It's the only one of that I have, yes, but I have several other statues and sculptures around my house. Good question. We're gonna save again. All right, so a couple streams ago, we showed some of the dynamics features, which have been released in ZBrush 2021, which are pretty amazing. And so we're going to play around with those really quickly. Dynamics is here. Now, right now, if I just hit run simulation, it'll probably do this and just like fall off and be really awkward. It's also inside facing, so I'm not entirely sure how that will work. And it looks like I forgot to take out this piece here, so I'm going to actually get rid of this. So I'm going to just go select it, and then masking, group mask, or polygroups group masked to get rid of this. It's all one mesh, so I can just go to geometry, modify topology, delete hidden, and that'll go away. So here we go. I'm going to try to use the cloth pull brush and see how this goes. Not great. I actually was thinking about removing the inside too. This, okay, I don't know if I'm going to need that. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to hit recalc. Inflate, I'm going to put to 0. See that it's working, but it seems to always do this like projection thing, which I'm not. You can see it's working here. Like, this is great. Look at this. Cool. I don't really know why it always does this like projection. If anybody knows why the projection is happening, I would love to know. You can select part of the mesh and use Control-Shift+A to grow all the selection. That's cool. what I'm going to do is what if I just like recalc this? I'm thinking that maybe it's because it's visible. So if I just make everything else not visible, and then I can only be calculated for all non-active subtools. Okay. That's working. That's working. That's working. It's going through everything. So I want to just like show the body and then now collision volume. But why is it stretched to that? No. What is the secret ingredient to being awesome? Time, patience. First off, I don't think I'm awesome, but I appreciate you. I think saying that. I'm not sure. Time and practice, just like in Kung Fu Panda. This. It works fine on the body, on the legs. Like, that's so interesting to me. Ooh, we get these like aviator pants. But there might be like a boot, so I'm going to push these up. Like ECP is the one I've been using. Pull move is also very good though. Thank you, I appreciate that. And then maybe we'll use that move brush again, the cloth move brush or pull brush, just to get some of these little wrinkles. Use it asymmetrically first. It's got like a weird divot in here because there's this like area that's like stuck together. And that's part of why that's doing that. Be good enough for that piece. A little lower on his hips. Either had to duplicate the subtool and use the dupe instead or restart. I've been having that all the time. I don't really know what it is. I really gotta call and ask him. A genie pant, like a aviator World War II or World War I aviator pant meets a genie. It's gonna be a full-on genie outfit the more that I think about it, isn't it? Right. Definitely like will work. I don't recalc it. Is it making it perfectly symmetrical in the wrinkles? Yes. I'm not a fan of that. So we're going to take one at a time. I'm going to push this stuff up. Now, this is not double-sided, so I'm going to run into a problem here. But I'm just going to experiment with this. A lot of work needs to go into this little piece. Especially if we wanted to do anything with it. Always dynamesh it. We could do a million different things with it. think it's because all this is like inflated against itself. The cloth brushes are really cool, especially like these pinch brushes. Like if I want to get in, and what I want to do right now is get all this pinch brush stuff in and make it look like there's all these wrinkles in here. All right, so we don't have a ton of time, but I want to get like a render that we could put in our thing. So we could either do like a shot like this. It's looking pretty good. We could angle his head a little more if we wanted. We want him to be looking like down, straight. I kind of like the up a little bit. One thing we could do though, and this is a thing that my friend Brian Wynia kind of taught me, which is a kind of a fun thing. We have this whole character in symmetry, but if we don't want to do a straight on angle, which for him I think does actually work pretty well, we could just angle the top. Save a version and then angle the top. And what we could do is we could turn the head to the side. So I'm just going to angle it this way. This. Now, if I want to come in here, all I have to do is I'm going to go down to the teeth, and I'll go to the head, and I'll rotate it. And then I'll go down to the teeth, and I'll hit 7 for me, which is stroke, replay last, right here. And that'll turn his head just a little bit. So if we want to give him just a little bit more personality, just because we're turning the head, it's not a ton, right? But when we're at least doing this, it's a little something. It'll give us just that much more. Maybe it's better that he's just doing straight on in this one, right? We could do that. I'm actually fine with either. But what I'm going to do is now do like a quick render. Render, pop that out. I'm going to adjust the light. This is a matte cap, so we're going to have one vibe of light here. So if I give it really heavy shadows or something like that, you're definitely going to see it. To be honest, I kind of like just how it is here. Just keep it straight. Let's do a little bit of painting in here. So we're going to switch to some texturing very quickly. Spray. I'm just going to use this material. Oh. I'm going to turn on RGB. I'm going to like choose a kind of a greenish. That's way too saturated of a yellow. That's okay. So I'm going to fill the object with that really quick. I think I want to go darker to start, and we'll build up from that. There we go. So I'm going to invert that. I'm going to choose the same color. And we're going to quickly go upwards in saturation and in value to just kind of frame the face a little bit better. We're basically going to paint this in a way that I'm going to try to minimize the amount of Photoshop work that I have to do a render. And what that means is I'm basically going to paint in lighting. So I'm going to paint in things where I know the top light will be hitting it, like this. And also kind of treating this as my render itself. And then I'm going to use the inverse to shadow things. We'll say, color eyes should he have? Question from the chat. Can you use ZBrush for hard surface? Yes. Yes, absolutely you can. very quick. And then we'll do like, what color shirt should he wear? Is it leather? Kind of a black and gray kind of a guy. He's a rogue, so probably going black. It's kind of what I was going for, I think. Super sharp. I feel like that really went out of style. A little brighter, meaning a lot brighter for this final pass. Now, if I do this render, it's probably going to look not great. So I don't really care about that. This. I'm going to just hit document export here. It'll export it as a PSD if you want it to. So I'm just going to do that. Do a really quick paint over. So I'm going to take the whole thing. I'm going to duplicate it, hit Control J. I'm going to go to Filter. I'm going to go to Filter Gallery. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go to Stylize, I think. Oh, sorry, Artistic. Paint Daubs, which is one that I like quite a bit, which is right here. You'll see what it does is blend it all together and kind of sharpen it. I don't want all that sharpness because we've already got that. I just want brush size and maybe a little bit of sharpness here. Okay. Before and after, not a ton, but it does help to simplify some of the colors here. And then I'm just going to use my magic wand. Behind this, making a new layer, making a mask, and that will let me paint whatever color I want in or outside the mask. So now I can kind of come in and be like, you know, what do we want our background to be? Do I want it to be the reverse? And I think we'll just run with like some sort of a gradient for now, though. A burst, and we'll do sure. usually go into overlay very quickly, and then I will paint just in black and white. Use some round brush. Pressure sensitivity is being a little wonky in Photoshop. It's the Windows update, which I'm super excited about. We're not going to use a lot of that. Like, for example, I was going to attempt to, as you can see, I have no pressure sensitivity. These are not intending to be as eyebrows, but giving a little bit of shadow where it was, you know, coming in here. I'll show you what I'm going to do in a sec. But basically painting in some extra lighting where we could put it as like a multiply or just straight up normal, and dialing this way down. This is about the size that the character will actually be on this little thumbnail we're going to make. So just enhancing the shadows a little bit. This is what I was hoping would be overlay. So overlay, I can actually invert and paint in white as well, which will brighten areas. So I could, you know, bring up, for example, this area. I'm having to basically paint with a mouse. So but this is kind of the before and the after of that. If you guys can kind of see some of the difference. It's a little small, but the before and the after is kind of like this. I'm just doing a very quick, no pressure sensitivity paint job. And you can always dial that down, up. This is 100%. This is nothing. That's at like 30. We'll put it at like here. A little bit more. And then, you know, why not just give a little anime highlights. So there we go. Do I prefer hair cards or fiber mesh for hair realism? Our hair cards are super difficult. Super difficult. So I try to avoid them if possible. So I'm gonna just go like this. I think I get a square. Crop tool if that's easier for you to visualize. You can also just use this one. Image crop. And then we'll just add another layer of not fill, gradient. have any pressure sensitivity like you saw. And we'll save this. Both of the PSD and over the existing one. And then I'll also save it as a JPEG. So now we can come in here. We'll do a little overlay action. So we got this character here. We need some pants for sure. Let's give this belt a color. Red. This dude's a red belt. Some pants. There we go. Sure. There we go. So we made a, oh, it's definitely not big enough for him, huh? We got to make a new one. Well, not a whole new one. We'll just. There we go. So we made him. Random character made. I love using these kind of prompts because it gives you kind of like a fun starting point, right, for where your character can go, for who they can be, what their background is, you know, maybe some inspiration for them on what they could be doing or who they could be. You know, now we can come in and have fun with that. So thank you everybody for joining today. Kind of a little bit of a different thing, but also some of the same. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, this is a fun one. I appreciate you guys all being here today. And so if you guys have any questions in the chat, as always, let me know. Otherwise, we'll probably head out in just a minute. But yeah, kind of a fun day today, making a random character with a random prompt. And I think it seems like it kind of fits the character as well too. So yeah, we do have a, thank you for posting that, Miranda. We do have a open house this weekend, or sorry, on Friday. I lied. This Sunday, the 20th. On the 20th, we have an open house. So if you're interested in anything Gnomon related, any of our programs, our school, our academics, anything at our school, we'll be having speakers from financial aid to admissions to recruitment, giving a little bit of insight about Gnomon, a little bit of insight about our programs. And if you're interested, I'd really recommend checking that out. Click the link that was just posted, and you can sign up for our RSVP, and we can get some more information there. Otherwise, it was great having you all here today, and I will see you guys next stream. So thank you all very much. We'll talk soon. See you next week, 10 to 1. Have a good one.